alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hello and welcome to Alive After Reading. This is episode 201 of the podcast. So we're starting season 3 today. And I'm very pleased to have reached this many episodes, but that's just time for you, isn't it, folks? Anyway, I write books. I talk about books. I talk to authors, but not today. Today I'm out walking. And I have to say, you know, my writing lately has left a lot to be desired. I've been kind of slow. I've enjoyed what I've been doing, but I haven't put the effort in, so I must not be enjoying it that much, right? Well, maybe not. I really like my social time. I like hanging out with people. I've been missing that a lot, obviously, in person, thanks to the COVID lockdowns in my part of the world. But that car goes whooshing by. Anyway, but I have started streaming on Twitch. That's, I guess, the big announcement. I mean, I'm streaming my writing sessions, so at least some of them each day. The first one, in fact, because that gets me honest, I guess, about starting. That was the idea anyway. I'm really happy with what I'm doing over there because even though it's only been 2 days as of now, as of this recording, probably 3 by the time you hear it, I am pretty happy with how it's going. I mean, there's a lot of people over on Twitch, and windy. I hope this isn't going to be too bad on the mic, but yeah, I'm very pleased with it because there's so many people over there. Some people have already noticed me, which is interesting. Not a lot, but some, and I was surprised about that. I didn't consider how just generally numerous the Twitch audience is, and how a lot of those people have never even heard of me. Probably most of them have never heard of me. I mean, that goes for most people, but you know, even in the writing sphere, I'm a pretty small fish right now. And the talking sphere, same thing. But there is something to it. There's something to writing and talking that I just love, and I guess I like to express myself, and I like language for doing that. So I suppose that makes sense. Oh boy, I hope you can't hear my music, but I don't think you can. It's kind of localized. Turn it down a notch. It's in my ears, but I do listen fairly loud. Anyway, got some metal going, just as I usually do when I'm riding or walking anywhere, unless I'm listening to a podcast. But yeah, so not much to say really today. Which is ironic because I just said how much I like to express myself verbally, but I really had a nice little conversation, a nice little meeting. Met this not Twitch person, but this person on Twitch who started chatting on my stream. Like, it really surprised me. I'm always kind of expecting zero at this point. I expect nothing from any audience I might have. As in, I don't expect them to necessarily buy the book when I release a new book. I don't expect reviews. I think that's healthy, honestly. I don't expect them to even mention the book to me or even respond when I send an email that asks for some feedback. Maybe I need a better audience, but I kind of like the ones I've got. I mean, most of the ones that I have, there's some that are engaged, and I like those ones. And I'm not trying to put down anyone else. You know, maybe email isn't your cup of tea, even if you're on my list or whatever, you know. But there's just something to responsiveness, I guess, is the point. That's really what I'm getting at today. Getting a response is really encouraging, especially when it happens quickly. So, yeah, this is only the second day of Twitch, and I got 2 chatters. One is very brief, but you know, I stream in the morning, which is also kind of weird. Streaming first thing first thing I do after breakfast, I guess, is stream now. Well, not true because I played a game, but a little game first. But from now on, I'm going to stop doing that. That's going to be the goal, is just have breakfast, and then start streaming. So it'll be the most natural thing in the world. Or maybe even get my breakfast, then start streaming, then eat it. You know, some people do that. I have watched many a Twitch stream where people were eating, well, I mean, one specific guy, but we're not mentioning that guy by name. He's a pretty big Twitch streamer, though. He eats on the camera because he's so involved. So, yeah, but anyway, responsiveness. It's something I wasn't expecting to any degree. I was expecting no viewers. I was expecting no chatters, especially on the first and second day. But it's, you know, whatever. First week, I'm already doing pretty well. I mean, I got 3 followers, which is tiny. I understand. Some people have thousands or tens of thousands of more followers, but I don't expect that many. But now I'm not sure what I should think is going to happen because I'm just talking and writing, and it's what I like to do. So at least I can be genuine on there, and I think people probably can sense that when they tune in. Anyway, it's a nice day out here. It's warm for this time of year. Pretty mild. The snow's melting all around me. Breeze is picking up, but it's not too cold either. And I'm just so happy. I don't know. That's the weird thing. I just upgraded my meds, right? I may have mentioned this on a recent episode. But with my med upgrade, my antidepressants, which I do kind of swear by at this point because they really changed my life when I first started taking them, and then when we just upped the dose a couple weeks ago, it's been a huge advantage for my sense of just well-being. And there's no putting a price on that because every day I would just feel awful so much. It still kind of happens sometimes, but now there has to be a reason. And before there didn't have to be, that's a big difference, you know. Anyway, I mean, I'm just rambling here, obviously. I'm out walking, of course, and I figured I should record an episode. But, you know, maybe I should have had some notes. Oh, I never do notes, really. I mean, I always have a little something when I interview an author or talk to an author. But I thought, hey, I'm a talker. Looks like I might be talked out, at least in this regard. I didn't get a whole lot of words today. That's the biggest problem. Only, you know, couple scenes. I finished a lot of scenes because there were a lot of scenes that were tiny that I wrote. I wrote like 4 scenes or ended 4 scenes, and yet only like 1,000 words. To put that in perspective, there I wrote like a page in 4 different scenes. And the thing is, I also realized sometimes that's necessary. Sometimes that's how I do it. But I also have a much easier time writing a big chapter, like a big go big chapter where everything happens, lots of stuff's going on around a simple concept. And I think it's a good lesson for writers. Honestly, most writers could do with less bells and whistles in a lot of places, especially early on, and just focus on what is this scene, what is the action here, what's the point for when outlining a scene or when coming up with an idea for a chapter or whatever. You know, because or have like multiple conflicts that you're going to do, but then kind of blend them together or twine them up. What's the word? Weave them together, yeah, in the same chapter, the same scene, the same moment of story. That's the kind of thing that can make a story really ace for me. I did that yesterday, I think. I felt like I was doing it. I guess it's important too, but that was my attempts to do it. Because like this scene has to accomplish X, Y, Z, and A, I guess. Go back around to the start of the alphabet. So a few more, like a little more than I expected originally, or I'm used to doing. And that was really cool. It made the scene feel really good to me. I mean, I'm like, oh, I think this is good. I think this is a strong scene is what my result was. But there's no saying for sure if it actually worked until I edit it, right? Or until people read it. I mean, there's some of those scenes that I still remember fondly that, might not be that good. Though a few of them, some of my favorite ones did get really positive responses. Like the one in 10 Liars, which is, gun fantasy. It's like epic fantasy, but with firearms. And it's a little like Promise of Blood or those books by Brian McClellan, Powder Mage. But exactly way different because the guns are way more modern. The setting is way weirder. It's not just like a knockoff of Napoleon plus fantasy elements. Or Napoleonic era or whatever, plus fantasy elements, some different, world or whatever. Which I'm not trying to diss Brian McClellan or Powder Mage, because it's fine. It's a fine series. I thought the first book was okay. Like, I didn't go on with it, but anyway, in 10 Liars, I'm also not much of a reader, so that's not a critique. Anyway, in 10 Liars, right, there's this scene with the protagonist, Ilsa, is in a battle, and I think I've probably mentioned this before. She's in a battle in a cave against like several enemies, all of them armed with weapons, firearms, several, like a squad of enemy scouts. And of course, Ilsa, being like a perfect shot because that's her magic, and she's the heroine, so I'm pretty sure she's going to win this fight. But I decided it's boring to describe all the shots she's going to take because every one of them is going to hit, basically. That's what's been established already in this book. This is the middle of the book. She basically can't miss enough for it to matter. So, like, I don't describe any of that in that scene, the shooting. I only described basically for a page or two how she was kind of getting hit and trying to avoid being shot herself. And it was pretty good. I got some nice feedback on it, honestly, when I released it on Fiction Press. Which is no longer up there now, I don't think, but it was, that to me is an example of like outside the box scene making from my own work that I go back to sometimes. And it's very stark, but it doesn't have to be like that. You could do other things, other little twists on how you tell the tale that make it a lot, that do accomplish a similar idea, that do like, this is changing the idiom. Like that scene, it could have been very like rah, I'm so good at shooting people, but it isn't, because it just doesn't matter that much during that moment. Even though she's protecting her friends, she's still, I guess the way it works, the way it synergizes here is she's protecting her friends, her life is on the line, and that's the emphasis. That's the shift of emphasis that I did. Which is more powerful than like, I'm triumphant, I shot all these guys but got badly hurt, as an afterthought. Instead, it's, I got hurt a lot and I got all these guys as an afterthought. So downplay, upplay. And I guess that goes back to the responsiveness idea that I had mentioned earlier, where the response you give the reader, like it's like when you play a video game, if you're, or any game really, computer game, phone game. Honestly, the feeling of being like a solid hit in an action game, or a big slam as you play a card in like a Magic card game or something, like, that sort of thing's pretty cool. It's a nice way to give an effect, a response. It makes your reader feel like they're doing, the player feel like they're doing something. But sometimes a lack of response, like I said with 10 Liars, sometimes the lack of input can actually really change things. And it can really, really, you do tip that scale one way or the other, it changes things. And usually tipping away from responsiveness gives you a hopeless feeling. And I admit that might have contributed to my depression over the past years, because I've had very little response to my writing when I've released it, because, first off, nobody knows me. Second off, I didn't release in a necessarily productive fashion, because I didn't release series at a time, Like I kept bouncing around between them, and now I'm just kind of too slow. I need to pick up the pace, but it's hard. It's like those quid pro quo things, or there's Catch-22, where if you're trying to go faster, you can't. That's what I noticed. Like I tried to dictate for so long, for a year and a half or whatever, not so long, but and it didn't make me faster, it slowed me down. And I tried to write faster in a lot of other ways, or I tried to, but really the trick is to spend more time at it, not to do it quicker, because there is really a top speed for anything. And I can get more books out typing now, or doing, going slower at any rate than I ever could when I was trying to race myself and set a pace. that was too quick per hour or per minute even. So yeah, don't overanalyze. But that's it. Thanks for listening. I'm back at the doors of my house, and take it easy, folks. Stay safe. Oh yeah, my Twitch stream is Bookmaster Tim on Twitch. Have a good one, folks. Bye.
That tears it.